What's going on, guys? Kim here with Renos for Pros and Joes, helping you simplify the renovation and remodeling process. On this channel, we do hands-on product tool and gear reviews, as well as renovation tip and strategy videos like this one. So if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to install Shiplap. Before we jump too far into that, let's first remove our outlet cover so that you can see exactly what this looks like. So you can see the work is clean. You can see that there's a blue box back there behind the GFCI here in the wall, and I'm going to show you how to make this cut regardless of whether or not you have a cutoff here at the bottom. As you can see, mine had a small space here that's only approximately this tall, but based on where it fell and the small amount of space that was below it, it wouldn't have really made sense to try to cut through that, because it would have left a fraction of an inch on there, not even like a 1/4 inch on the bottom. It probably would have looked really raggedy anyway, so we just cut it off. And it just so happened that it fell right here at the top of another board. But either way, what I'm going to show you is going to work. The main thing I wanted to show you is how this looks in the wall, as well as the fact that the cutout is actually relatively clean behind this cover. The other thing that I want to point out to you before we move any further is the difference in the width and the height of the space. So you can see here, if I've got this directly over it, you can see that there's about 1/2 inch on either side that the outlet cover covers. Likewise, when I have it down here at the bottom and have it lined up, it's approximately the same thing, maybe like a 1/4 inch at the top and a 1/4 inch of the bottom. So you have a little bit of room to play with these. I am going to be using this piece of Shiplap since this wall is already complete, and it is the exact same material. This is just painted as a color sample that we use for different projects. The next thing you want to do is make sure that you initially go ahead and cut your piece to length, and then you want to make sure that you can go ahead and dry fit that piece in where it's going to go. Now, this particular wall was installed from top to bottom. Most people enjoy doing it or prefer to do it top up. So either way, the same process you have to go through in order to do this. Now, essentially, the first thing that you want to do is take your board here. You want to be able to dry fit it exactly where it's going to go before you make any cuts. And so this piece, as you can see, has already been cut to size, and it would fit right in there. So we're going to take that, and the next thing we want to do here is we have to create some points of reference with this thing. So the next thing I want to do is get my pen. So let me do that. Just grabbing the first thing that I can find, which is this pen, which is not ideal color. So in any case, we're going to measure off, since this piece is already installed here, we're going to measure off from this piece. If we were working from the top down, then this piece would be already here, and then we'd measure down to this box. The easiest thing to do here is to first determine whether or not where you're going to cut out is going to be closer to the top of the board or close to the bottom. This one's obviously close to the bottom, so I'll show you from that one. So from that respect, we're going to take this, we're going to set it down here. Now, if we're working from the top down and it's closer, we would set it up here on the top and try to measure down to it. But in any case, this one's much closer to the bottom. So one of the things that we can do here is simply we can notate on the board once we have it exactly lined up with the way we want it. We're going to line up right here on our box. And so we're just going to visually notate where that is. We've got it there. So now we've got that figured out. We've got our width and everything determined. So now it's just a matter of determining exactly where this is on the board. So we're going to sit this right here in our groove, and we're going to measure up. And so we can see here that based on what we're measuring, we need to be at about 4 1/4. It's going to put you just dead on top of the box. 4 1/2 is going to give you a little bit of space on top of the box. Okay, so somewhere between 4 1/4 and 4 1/2 would be ideal. So we know it's going to be that. You can see that the bottom of this one starts at about 1/2 inch. Okay, so we're going to be from 1/2 inch to 4 1/4 inches. So 1/2 inch to 4 1/4 inches. Okay, we're going to take this same board right here that we're already working with. I'm going to grab a straight edge and I'll be right back. So now I've got my straight edge like this. So we're going to take this and make our marks. And so we're going to start here on the top. And we can see that that's one line like that. That's a little sloppy there, but as I said, remember that you're going to be painting everything. This one's painted, so it's going to look kind of crazy. Put a mark there, and then take this, flip it, continue our line there. All right, so now we basically transfer those marks that were up on the top side down here to the bottom side. And then on the bottom side, we already said that we needed 1/2 inch. So just need to take this and measure up to 1/2 inch, and that's where we start. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to measure that off. It's kind of awkward trying to do this and shoot. So we're going to say that we're going to start at 1/2 inch. So I'm going to do this. There's a 1/2 inch there. Here's a 1/2 inch there. So that's our bottom of our and then I'm just going to pull my straight line here and connect the two. So that's the bottom, which means that this would be the piece that would be left on there. And then we're going to start cutting up from there. And I believe we said the top was going to be 4 1/4, between 4 1/4 and 4 1/2. So we're going to take that, and that was from our initial measurement. So that's 4 1/4 there, and that's 4 1/2 there. So I'm just going to mark it at 4. I'm just going to mark it at 4 1/2. I think that's actually going to be good enough. Let's see if we've got play on this, so don't forget that. I'm marking it at 4 1/2 because I don't want to have to go back and trim this again just for time's sake for doing this. On your own project, you're definitely more than welcome to go ahead and try to do it that way. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this again. And then I'm going to connect these two like that. So now, as you can see, this is the piece that needs to come out, right? If I could draw a little bit better, that'd be great, right? But I guess I'm trying to make sure I can film that. Okay, so we're gonna cut this part out and leave everything else on. So the next $1 million question is, how are you gonna do this, right? So before we go any further, there's another way that you can do this. Well, this time we used the tape measure a lot, and we use this as well, but there's another way that we can do this. This is for the folks that don't feel as comfortable with measuring as much. You can use this type of setup here. So if we're gonna do it like that, you can actually have it slightly higher than our piece, but just, again, you have to make sure that you've got it level on both sides. And then we're just going to mark like that, our little hash marks there so we know where the outside edges are. And then we already determined that it's going to be 1/2 inch. And so we're going to go back here with this tape. Wish I had grabbed a different tape to do this. Super awkward. Let's see if I can lock that in place. And so now we're going to just mark off at 1/2 inch there. Half an inch there. Now from here, you can, that doesn't look too good, does it? Let's double check that. Always double check. So that's 1/2, and this one's short. Glad I looked at that twice. So that's actually the one that we want to mark from there. Now let's take this again, and then for this one, we're just going to make one mark, which is going to be our straight line here. Okay, so this is going to be the part that we're going to leave on. So now that we've got this bottom piece marked, now we're just going to take our box here and set that right there. We've got our box set, and you can see our box sits just in between there. If we could look at this bottom portion there, you can see that it sits just between there. We're going to have it up here. Now, if you choose to get one of these, make sure that you get one like this to save yourself the hassle. This is a new construction box, or new work box, as they're going to be called when you're going to be looking in the store. They have other ones that are old work boxes that have the little fins on them. This one is foolproof because you can't mess this up. The one for the old work has wings on it, and if you have a brain malfunction and trace around the fins and tips and pieces on the top and bottom here and then cut them out, then this is not going to work anymore because you've cut out the whole area that you needed to allow to remain, or you're going to be very close to being outside of the limit. So there, you can see I've got my outlet box sitting there, and then make sure I've got that in place. And I'm just going to trace around the entire thing here. Now remember, we said that pencil's better than pen, but see, now we've got our outlet here. So we've got this one right here that we did with just the trace method, and then we've got this one over here that we did with our straight lines. So the next thing we have to do is cut it out. So I know you're probably wondering how you're going to cut this out. So there's more than one way to do this. You can use a jigsaw, but I actually prefer a different tool for doing this. So the tool that we're going to be using to cut this is going to be this. Ha 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 ha. This is the cheat code to a lot of different types of finish work. This is an excellent tool for anybody that does any type of finishing work, dealing with carpentry, and sometimes even plumbing. This tool will allow you to make cuts and trim things that you would not normally be able to cut very easily. It simplifies things greatly. So I'm going to show you how we're going to set this thing up. And most of you've probably seen this before. We're just going to take that there. There's our blade. We've got a wood blade on there. And then we're just going to stick our battery pack in there like that. And now the moment that you've all been waiting for. There. Now we can go back through and clean this up a little bit. As I said, a lot of that is dust and everything right there. We kind of got away from us a little bit right here, but understand that this thing is much easier to control. You're not trying to sit in front of a camera and cut at an odd angle. So this is not directly in front of me. So it's much easier to use it when you're completely focused and centered on doing it. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut the other one as well, since I said that we would. There's the second one. So let's double check our work here to make sure that we're good in both holes, to make sure I know what I'm doing. And see, on both of these I left that little piece on there, and so there we go. Bam, there you are. And that's the piece that I was saying that was kind of tight. This is why I left that, but it doesn't matter. This can still be screwed in. You could also just notch out this piece right there. Same thing here. Lines up perfectly, right? For more information on this tool, which I highly recommend, the information will be in the description box below. Be aware that on this particular tool, as you saw me pull the trigger, that you can see that it is pressure sensitive. And now I'm gonna start it off slow. You see it's moving slowly. And now you can't see it. There are other options available. If you don't like this one, or this one's too expensive for you, I also have another alternative. It is not battery powered. So I'll try to give you a history lesson. So this tool is one that's a little bit less expensive. This tool right here is the granddaddy of the yellow tool. So we've got this one, and we've got this one. Okay? This is less expensive. And this one has settings on it here that allow you to set the speed of the blade. And that way, when you pull the trigger or turn the on switch on here, it will only go at that speed and that's it. This is a pressure sensitive tool. So it's gonna change depending on how hard you press or how light you press it. Hopefully you found this video informative. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.